So here's my April 2022 update on credit card news and the best offers and promotions. In a moment, I'll get to some details of some boosted American Express offers, details of new cards from Barclaycard, and changes to how you're going to make payments online. But first of all, I want to talk about something that's happening to Amazon credit cards. Now, there are a few different ones here. I'm talking here about the Classic and the Platinum credit cards, which are operated by a company called New Day. It was announced last month that these are going to close in January 2023. That's it. They will stop working. They will be replaced instead by a New Day Pulse credit card. Now, we don't have a huge amount of information about this yet because they haven't been released. What we do know is that you will have the same credit limit on that credit card as you've got with your Amazon one. And you'll also not be subject to any kind of credit check. You'll literally just be issued with a new credit card with a new name and working slightly differently. So whereas the Amex cards will give, the Amazon cards will give you points back on your spending at Amazon and elsewhere, which you convert into vouchers for Amazon, the Pulse card will give you 1% cash back for the first 3 months, dropping down to 0.25% cash back on after those first 3 months, which makes it good maybe for the first 3 months, not so great after that compared to other options. But when it's announced, when it's released, I'll give you a full review and a full rundown because who knows how things might change between now and the start of 2023. But what does that mean then for your points that you've already got on your Amazon credit card? Well, at the moment, there's no information about whether you're going to be able to get paid for any partial points that are left over, because you have to have 1,000 points to earn a £10 voucher. If you have less than that, they just sit there. That's what's happened to me. I stopped using my Amazon Platinum credit card at the start of 2021 when I began my year without Amazon, where I didn't use Amazon for a full 12 months. And I've carried that on now in 2022. And at that stage, I had around 300 points just sitting there. And they're still there. And I'm not going to be spending any money on them, particularly now this is happening. There's no way I'm going to get to 1,000 points. So I'm hoping that they'll give me a partial rebate on that. So 300 points, and say, right, there's £3 voucher for Amazon credited to your account, which, okay, I'm not using Amazon, but still £3, maybe I'll make an exception and spend that. You might be thinking, well, I've got 100 points, 800 points, whatever it is right now. What happens if they don't do that? What happens if when the card is cancelled? Do you just lose all those points? Potentially. We don't know right now. So what I would suggest to you is to think about how much you're likely to spend at Amazon over the next, 7 months before that card change comes into play, and how many points you need to reach a £1,000 threshold. I would say if you're close to £1,000 and you think that absolutely it's going to be relatively easy for you to spend the money there, remember you get the equivalent of, you get 3 points for every £2 spent on Amazon if you're a Prime member. It works out at 1.5% back. But effectively, if you spend £66.66 on Amazon, you'll get 100 points. So if you're 100 points away and you think you'll spend nearly 70 quid in the next 7 months, then go for it. Get that 1,000 points. Get that voucher added to your Amazon account and then stop. Don't carry on with it after that, I would say. If you're a long way off that, then maybe it's a bit more touch and go. Fingers crossed that won't happen. You'll get your points, but at the moment, we just don't know. What I would also say as a caveat to that is, and we'll talk about some of these in a moment, but there are other high-paying cashback and reward credit cards. They're actually often better for your spending outside of Amazon anyway. The Amazon Platinum credit card, it's only really good if you're a Prime member and spending on Amazon. The rest of the time, you'll get better rates elsewhere. So I would actually just think, if you're not worried about this, or you don't have many points right now, just ditch it and start using a different card. Now, there are better ones out there, as I say, and some of those are some new cards. If you're looking for a non-American Express card, we'll come back to Amex in a second, from Barclaycard. Now, I've done a whole video looking at these two new cards that have launched, the Barclaycard Avios and the Barclaycard Avios Plus. Now, you might be thinking, I don't collect Avios, it's not of any interest to me, but because you can convert Avios points into Nectar points, what it effectively means is it makes these cards more realistic as cashback cards, and they're very, very competitive compared to everyone else. The free option, the free card, will give you the equivalent of 0.8% back in Nectar points, whereas the paid card, which is quite expensive, will give you the equivalent of 1.2% back. That's both very, very good. Remember, these are MasterCards, so they will be accepted by everyone. You know, there are still some retailers that don't accept Amex, so they're a good option, particularly the free option. That, to me, after the Chase debit card and some of the American Express cards, that is going to be one of the best ones for you to earn points and rewards back. Of course, Nectar points, you only really spend them in Sainsbury's, Argos and eBay. But again, I've got a whole video looking at those in detail if you're interested. Now, American Express, they have launched some boosted offers this month going into June or July, depending on the card you go for. Now, there's already a platinum one that's been running, and that one will end at the end of May. That works out as 60,000 points rather than 30,000 points. That's pretty decent. But if you have a refer a friend link, that offer is even better. You get 65,000 points if you spend $6,000 in 6 months. So that might be worth getting a refer a friend link. Now, if you know someone with a card, ask for that link. If not, I have got one that I will link to over on becleveryourcash.com that you can use. But it's better if you get it from a mate, because that means you'll both get some points and money back for doing it. So that's a good one to think about. There's potential benefit there, potential profit if you convert the points you earn into Avios points, then into Nectar points of about £580. Factor in the fee, taking that off if you cancel the card after you've got that bonus, then maybe about 280 quid you can get. So that's really, really decent. If you don't want to dance around those little hoops, then the American Express Preferred Reward Gold credit card, that's, I think, one of the better options to go for anyway if you haven't had an Amex offer in the last 2 years, and that makes you eligible for this offer. Spend $3,000 in 3 months. Normally you get 20,000 points. If you're referred by a friend, you'll now get 32,000 points, plus there's 3,000 points for spending $3,000 in 3 months. 35,000 points. If you convert those, once again, those Amex membership reward points into Avios, into Nectar, that's worth 280 quid as well. And that card is free in the first year. So it's a much, much easier one to get. Just bear in mind, if you do get the Amex Gold card now, you won't be eligible later on to get the Platinum offer later on. But likewise, if you get the Platinum card now, you won't be eligible for the Amex card later on. So just weighing up which one you want to go for. But again, decent option. Now, obviously, not all credit cards are about earning rewards, earning cash back. Sometimes we're using credit cards because we can't afford other things. And with the cost of living crisis right now and increasing costs everywhere, it feels like that is really something that is happening right now. The latest figures from the Bank of England, this is for spending in February, show that credit card borrowing as a total reached an all-time high of £1.5 billion. So there's obviously been a surge in people using credit cards. Now, it might not just be down to the cost of living crisis. It might be down to post-COVID, last summer, people feeling a bit more confident and spending more then, and it's still on the cards. But this is something to be really aware of here if you are spending using a credit card for things that you can't afford, those essentials. One thing I would say, first of all, is if you're really, really worried about stuff and you have existing debts you can't deal with, make sure you get some free independent support from the likes of Step Change or National Debtline or Citizens Advice, okay? Don't just kind of make it worse and worse and worse. If it's something that feels a bit more manageable, but is kind of, you're slightly worried about how those payments are creeping up every single month, don't forget there are 0% balance transfer credit cards. This is if you've got an existing credit card debt and you move that debt over to a new card for a small transfer fee, normally around 2 or 3%, or sometimes you can get it for 0%. Then when it's on that new credit card, you have a period of time. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, 2.5 years, where the no interest is charged, giving you the opportunity to just make repayments rather than getting charged interest on top and paying that as well, which can take forever, literally forever to clear. So that's something to bear in mind now. If you've got the debt, look at those 0% balance transfer credit cards. I'm not going to give you the best ones right now because really you want to do an eligibility check. As you do with any credit card, have a look at what you have the best chance of getting, work out what works best for you in terms of factoring the cost of that fee, that transfer fee versus how long the card is. Sometimes it might be better to go for a longer card with a higher fee because you need that time to clear it. Sometimes you might be able to sort of get one that's a lot shorter and factor in that 0% fee and maybe even cash back from the likes of Quidco and Top Cashback. And that can work out the better deal. But just bear that in mind. Also think about 0% purchase credit cards right now. They might be quite tempting. You're thinking, right, I can't afford stuff right now. I'll just slap it on a 0% purchase credit card and deal with it when that 0% deal finishes. That can be dangerous as well, remember, because you might get yourself into a cycle of debt and be in a scenario where in a year, 18 months, whatever it is, when that credit card is due, if you've only been making the minimum repayments every month, of course, when that is due, what do you do then? And that could cause all sorts of problems. So, credit cards are not the answer to increasing costs. But sadly, right now, a lot of the other options aren't really there. But do what you can to kind of cut back elsewhere, I would say. Reduce your spending before you go onto a credit card and start building up debts. And then do everything you can to make sure you manage that responsibly. The last thing to talk about in this episode is around something called Strong Customer Authentication, SCA. Now, this is actually really important, okay? So don't switch away. Stick with me here. This is about making sure when you make a purchase that you are who you say you are. And it means you have required to have an additional kind of authorization basically on every purchase. So we're already used to this with contactless. After a certain number of taps, it'll ask you to enter in your PIN, right? So that's already something we're familiar with. Same kind of rules. This is about them online, credit and debit cards, and they came into play in full from the 14th of March 2022. Now, every single time you make a purchase online, the retailer has to kind of send a signal to the credit card or debit card provider for them to kind of get you to say, yes, this is me, via something that's only unique to you. This is normally going to be a one-time passcode, sometimes called an OTP. That's normally sent via email or text message or sometimes to your landline. Or it might be via the card readers. I hate card readers, but maybe your bank will require a card reader. Or with a lot of the newer banks right now, they'll ask you to go into your banking app and authorize it in there. So that's what's going to happen. You've probably already seen this. In fact, we're 2 or 3 weeks since that happened. No doubt you've already had to do this a number of times. Why I'm picking up on it, because you're probably already familiar with it, is just to make sure though that you have all your up-to-date contact information with all of your different card providers. So your phone number and your email address. Make sure that is up to date, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're trying to make a purchase and it's going to someone else completely. I wouldn't worry too much about not having signal, because let's face it, if you're online making a purchase, you've probably got access to Wi-Fi. So you're going to be okay in that sense. If you haven't got phone signal, but you've got Wi-Fi, you'll still be able to receive that information, that code to prove that it is you. I had a few problems with it. A few people have had teething problems with certain cards, haven't worked with certain retailers. I think that is teething problems that will be ironed out. One for me was with American Express and with Premier Inn. And Premier Inn just kept rejecting it. I called American Express. They said, yeah, this is down to strong customer authentication. Premier Inn haven't got their website set up to send them the information. I got in touch with the Premier Inn website. They said it's because Amex use a different system. But basically, they're working at it. And hopefully, by the end of April, if not earlier, then you'll be able to use your Amex on Premier Inn. American Express told me that was pretty much the only retailer where this is happening. So I just had the bad luck, the misfortune of trying to make a purchase with my Amex on that card. In the end, I used my Chase debit card. I got 1% cash back, which is a bit annoying though, because I am working towards a welcome bonus on my BA Amex Premium Plus. Right, let's end this one then with my top credit cards for April 2022. The ones that kind of get you the kind of the best offers. For ongoing cashback, I would go with the American Express Nectar credit card, because you get the equivalent of 1% back. You cannot get higher than that right now from a credit card, unless you go for something store specific, such as maybe the John Lewis one at John Lewis and Waitrose, or the Amazon one at Amazon, as we spoke about earlier on. So that's the best one for ongoing cashback. For welcome offers, well, I spoke about that already. It's the Preferred Rewards Gold American Express or the American Express Platinum ones right now until early June or mid-July, depending on the card. You're going to get a much, much higher welcome bonus. It's a good time to take advantage of this. If you want a non-American Express credit card, though, for your spending, then I would probably go here for the Barclaycard Rewards credit card rather than the Barclaycard Avios, simply because that one is fee-free to use overseas. Yes, you'll earn less money, only 0.25% versus the 0.8% with the free Avios, but it's fee-free overseas. Of course, neither of those are my top pick for non-Amex spending, because I go with the Chase account because that's 1% cash back for a year and it's fee-free abroad and it's a debit card rather than a credit card. My name is Andy Webb. Let me know what you think about today's video in the comments below, and check out these videos over here for more on credit cards.